measures of central tendency, you've probably already talked about these. This is what I said might be a review for a lot of you. So when we talk about measures of central tendency, we want to talk about values that represent the middle of a set of data. So things that can represent the middle are the mean or the median or the mode, depending on what kind of data you're dealing with. So the mean is sometimes called the average, and we do that a lot. Like if you're finding the average of 2 of your tests, you would want to take the average as a percent so that they're out of the same amount, out of 100, add your 2% and divide by 2. If you have 3 tests, you add your 3%, divide by 3. Okay? You don't go by your mark out of a certain value, because all of our tests are out of different amounts of marks. In any case, the mean is the same as taking the average. All right? So here's some notation. We talked about sigma notation already, so that should be familiar. So this is saying we're taking the sum of all the data values. So x1, x2, x3. So the x's are each individual data value. So you're adding all of them up and dividing by however many there are. Okay, that's how you take the mean. Sometimes the mean is denoted with a mu symbol, that Greek symbol mu, and sometimes it is, so mu really represents the average of a whole population, if you calculated that, and sample is denoted by x with a bar over top. And that's really what we end up using in this class, okay, because our calculator gives it. So the symbols are different, but the calculation is the same. So median is the middle number when you arrange your data in order, not just however they're arranged on your paper. So probably back in junior high when you learned this, I remember teaching it at some grade, I taught in Bermuda, grade 8 or grade 9, students would not put them in order, so they just look for the middle number. That's not the median. Mode is the most frequently occurring value, or intervals of values. So if it's basically on the bar graph, whatever the highest bar is, whatever that interval represented, that's your mode. So it's the highest frequency. And frequency is the number of times a particular value occurs. So we already talked about that. So it says find the 3 measures of central tendency of the following marks on the cumulative exam. So these look like they're marks out of 100. So these are your percents, someone's percents. So the mean, you want to add them up. Okay. So this, we want to find the sum. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And divide by 14. So get your calculator, because we're going to learn how to do this a different way, but we're going to do it the long way to start here. Okay? So here, put out of that, sorry. And so 9 plus 53 plus 6 plus 52. 82, 93, 95, 74, 85, 88, 87. We're going to learn a better way, because adding them all in like this, pretty likely you're going to mess something up. At least when I do it, I usually do. Okay. So this is 1,114 over 14. So you just divide by 14. 79, now what does it say to round to? Does it? Doesn't say. So we'll go to the nearest 10. 79.6. Now, median. Our values are not in the correct order. Let's close this. Okay, so you can either sort of count through them, or you might want to just put them in order. So 41, 53, 69, 73. I added them all together. So at the top, can you see my calculator? So up there, I just entered all of them in my calculator, and it gave me 1,114, and then I divided by 14 because there were 14 values. Now, putting them in order also helps with mode as well. I'm taking up a lot of space, but that's okay. Now count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Make sure you didn't miss any or you counted anything twice. And so there are 14 values. So the median is the middle. Well, there is no middle value, right? There's 7 here, 3, 6, 7, and then there's 7 here. So there is no middle. So what you have to do, if there's an even number, and I think we list it somewhere. Yeah, we do on the back in terms of calculator. We want to take the mean of the 2 middle values. So we want to take the mean of 2 middle values. So the median is equal to 77 plus 82 over 2. Halfway between 77 and 82, which will be what, 79.5. Right, because there's 5 units between 77 and 82. Half of 5 is 2.5. 77 plus 2.5 is 79.5. And then remember the mode, oops, I got the in there. The mode is the most frequently occurring number. So here I've got 2 95s, 2 76s, and nothing else repeats. So both of those are occurring frequently. If all of them happen once, there's no mode. If all of them happen twice, there's no mode. But if one number is there more than any of the other times another number is there, then there's a mode. In this case, the mode is, there's 2 of them. So modes, 76 and 95, and you do not take the average of them. There's just 2 modes. Oh, yeah, that's it. So there's 2 modes in that set. Okay, so now we get into our calculator, which will do some stuff for us. Okay, let's do this one in our calculator. So where we want to look is we want to go to stats. So stats button is next to the X button. Okay, and we want to enter this data into a chart. A list, so edit, and you'll see a whole bunch of lists, L1, L2, L3. Probably you have nothing in them. Let's say I have these in here. I want to clear those off. You can go back individually onto a value, press clear, enter, delete, enter, and it goes away. To clear the whole list, let's say I had a bunch of things here. then I do not delete a list. If you delete a list, L1 will go away and you have to insert it, which is a pain. If you go up to L1 and go clear, it's going to enter on that. It's going to clear everything below it. So delete deletes, gets rid of wherever your cursor is. Clear gets rid of everything below it in the list. Right? So you want to have it cleared out. Now, you can enter that list without putting it in order, which makes life a little bit easier, right? Rather than doing what we did before. For this mean, we entered it without order, but then we had to put it in order before we could calculate anything. So calculator is going to do a lot for us. We're going to enter 99, 53, 96, 82, 93, 95, 74, 95, 88, 77, that was only a 7, we go back, 77, 82, 88, doesn't like double numbers, 93, 95, 95, 96, 99, oh, I think I entered something more than once. Just a second. What happened? I gotta go check. I was going crazy and I think I entered things twice. Okay, 99, 53, 60. Yeah, so I'm gonna delete that, delete that. I don't know what else. Oh, shoot. I'm looking at the wrong list. That's my problem. Okay, going back up. You do it on your own. I'm just doing it quietly and not listening. So you do it on your own. I was mixing up the original and the blue list. There we go. Okay, so I know I've entered everything. My cursor's now on the 15th row, that little L1 15 at the bottom there. So I know I've entered 14 items. So I'm going to quit out of that to your calculate screen, just clear that off. And now I want the calculator to actually calculate some statistics. So I go back to that stat key, but then I want to calculate. So always, whether we have one list of values or a frequency table, we're always going to do one variable stats. We never use the two variable stats in our high school math. I can't even remember what it does. Okay, so one variable stats, and it asks you the list. Now, depends if you have an older version of the calculator. If you don't see what I see, then what you do when you do one variable stats is you enter L1, okay, so it'll say 1 var stats, and then you put L1 and press enter. Okay, if you have what I have, L1, frequency list, there isn't one, so you go to calculate and enter. Okay. Then the first entry there is the mean, x with a bar at 79.6. That's what we got. You'll see the summation of x, 1,114. Well, we actually did get that. Then we get some other numbers that we're not concerned about right now. Then you'll see n equals 14. Yep, there's 14 values. and then it gives us the minimum X value is 41. So we can see that minimum here. Q1 we'll talk about tomorrow. You'll see median there. So it gave us this, it gave us this, 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 this. It gives us another Q3 we'll talk about tomorrow. It gives us a maximum, this. The only thing this one variable stats doesn't do is the mode. Okay? So really, you can use this whenever you want. Okay? Unless you have to find the mode, and then you will have to look at the data specifically. Okay? So now, we're going to look at use our calculator to do the next ones. So there's we've just written out what each thing means there. So you have it in your notes. And then here's the table. Okay? So to do this, well, we'll do the first one by hand. So basically, remember what a frequency table means. That means we have 4 values of 14, 5 values of 15, 8 values of 16. So the long way, which we would never want to do, is to write it out like this, right? Don't write this down. But that's what it's meaning. 4 14s, 5 15s. So to get the mean, we would want to add all of these up. So 4 14s means we're going to multiply these together to get the frequency times x. So 4 times 14 is 40, 56. 15 times 5 is 75. 16 times 8, 128. 17 times 6, we do 102. 18 times 2 equals 36. If you add all the frequencies together, you get 25 values. If you add the frequencies together, 56 plus 75 plus 128 plus 102 plus 36. 397, and then divide by the 25 values, rounds to, it's 15.88, rounds to 15.9, 1 decimal place. Okay, but you can get your calculator to do those calculations for you. So again, stat, edit, now go up to L1 and press clear. Not delete. Enter, and that goes away. So I put my data values in the first, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, then cursor to the right. Okay, maybe you have to go up and to the right. So go up to a data value, but arrow to the right. Okay, and enter the frequencies that match. So there were 4 for 14, 5 for 15, 8 for 16, 6 for 17, and 2 for 18. If you have more than one column than the other, then you've messed something up. Okay, so you've entered that, clear out of your, so quit out of the lists. So second mode is quit. Go to stat and calculate. Always one variable stats. L1 is our data values. Now you can see frequency list, that makes sense in this one. Where did we put the frequencies? We put it in L2. So L2 is second key, number 2 key. You can see the L2 on the actual calculator. Then calculate that. And the first value, the mean, is 15.88. That's what we got. You can see N is 25. You can see the sum of the frequencies, 397, and right there. Okay, so that tells you everything in your calculator. Okay, so next one. Only thing different here, it's an interval of values. So in order to use your calculator, okay, question here, just a sec. Okay, so if we have an interval of values, your mid value is the average of these two. 50 plus 59 divided by 2 is 54.5. Okay, it's called the mid value. This would be 64.5, 74.5. And that's what you enter in your calculator list because you can't enter an interval. Okay, so I'm going to leave this for you to do. Okay, what you should get is this should be round to 75.3. Okay, so you can check that on your own. You can do it by hand or use the calculator. Okay, so that you're going to do on your own, not right now because we're running out of time. So turn over to the back of the page. It says if the data is presented in the form of a frequency table in which each item of data xi is present with a frequency of fi, then the formula becomes this. Okay, and you'll see this when you get to data booklets in IB. Not that you're ever really going to use that. You need to know this without the formula. Actually, I'm not sure if they'll show it to you exactly like that. So that just is what you just did. So in the last one we took the frequency of each data value, multiplied them together, and then added them together and divided by the total frequency. Okay, so here, stat, edit, enter the values or mid values into L1 and frequencies into L2. Stat calc, one variable stats, and this is where you will enter this as Brooke asked about in the TI-83. Sometimes in the newer versions like I have, it prompts you for it. So you don't have to enter, well, you may have to enter it, but not with a comma in between. Okay. So there is the IB, right? Only thing different here is this and this. Okay. And again, don't worry about what symbol. Either one is fine. Okay, so let's do a couple more practice here. Next one I'm going to leave for you to do on your own because, again, this one's pretty easy. That's like junior high, right? Mid value here, so remember, add them together and divide by 2, so that'll be 10.5, 30.5, 50.5, 70.5, 90.5. So that's my hint on that one. I'm going to leave that for you to do. Okay, so you have, I'm not sure on your notes. Don't have your notes right in front of me. You may have a little bit of information there about the odd number of data, what to do, and the even number of data. Do you have something that says, note that when there are an odd number of data,
Let me just see here. Okay, let me just see what you have. Yes, perfect. So that gives you a hint. I don't have it on my smart file here. Okay, so it just gives you a hint of what to do for that median value, which we already practiced. So then question 4, determine x if this set of data has a mean of 12. So remember what the mean is. You add these up, okay? So add these, divide by 12, and so actually it looks like this, I guess. So the sum of xi over 12 has to equal, over how many? How many data values? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 has to give you 12. Well, think about how to solve that. We want to go here. 8, that means the total of all of them has to be 12 times 8, which is 96. Okay, so then we're going to have whatever this is plus x. So you want to add your 5 plus 9 plus 11 plus 12 plus 13 plus 14 plus 17 is 81 plus x has to equal 96. So x would be 50. Okay. And then the last question. On the first 5 days, Sam drove an average of 257 kilometers per day. And on the next 3 days, he drove an average of 172 kilometers per day. What is the mean distance traveled per day over 8 days? So you have to think about them separately. You don't just take the average of this and add them together and divide by 2. You could if you did the same number of days at each kilometer, okay? But he didn't. So this says the first 5 days, he went 257 kilometers per day. So the total kilometers for those 5 days, and then we have to add the total kilometers for the next 3 days, and then divide by 8. So 5 times 257, 3 times 172, add those together, okay, so then the mean will be 1801 divided by the 8 days. You say what to round to, you go to the decimal place. Okay. So sometimes you'll hear it called a weighted average, so that we make sure we have the weightings correct on 5 days at 257, 3 days at 172. And then the last paragraph there, just to talk about the mean. It's an accurate measure of central tendency if the distribution is symmetrical or approximately symmetrical. If it is not, then unbalanced high or low values will drag the mean toward them. It is called a non-resistant measure of central tendency. The median is the only measure of central tendency that will locate the true center regardless of the data set's features. It is unaffected by the presence of extreme value. It's called a resistant measure of central tendency. So just remember, like if we have a class of kids did not so great on a test, but one person got 100. If I calculate the mean, it's going to not really represent the majority of the class because it will include that high number. But if I found the median, then doesn't matter what that high is. It could just be a little bit higher than everyone else or a lot higher. That median would actually tell us better the representation of the class. Okay, so extreme values distort the mean is basically what we're wanting you to realize. All right, so